Chapter 2, Incoterms and Sales Contract. Hello everyone. In this video, I will introduce two main topics. The first one is international sales contract and the second one is international commerce terms, usually called Incoterms. These topics are considered as the basic knowledge in international trade. The first topic, international sales contract, will define what a sales contract is and what some key elements in a sales contract are. Regarding the Incoterms, the overview of Incoterms such as its definition and characteristics will be introduced in this video. We will discuss the latest version of Incoterms, Incoterms 2020, and the 11 rules of this Incoterms. We will start with the international sales contract. What is international sales contract? There are many ways to define it. A contract is an agreement between two or more parties creating legally enforceable obligations. A valid contract creates legal obligations. A contract stipulates the terms and conditions of a particular transaction and specifies the rights and obligations of the parties concerned. Or, a sales contract is a legally binding agreement between two parties, a buyer and a seller, for the sale of goods or services. International sales contracts differ from domestic ones due to the complexities of international trade, including currency exchange rates, customs regulations, and differences in law. There are some main points you should remember in the definition. The first one is an international sales contract is a legally binding agreement between two or more parties from different countries. The second one is this agreement outlines the terms of sale for specific goods or services, including price, payment terms, and delivery details. These are primary terms and conditions of a sales contract. And the transaction dealing in an international sales contract is a cross-border trade, or you can call the export and import of goods or services. The last point is a sales contract often provides legal protection to both buyers and sellers by defining rights and obligations clearly and concisely. Now we will discuss the key elements of an international sales contract. The first one is the goods. The agreement specifies the goods or services being traded. They could be the quality, the quantity, the description of goods, the name of goods, etc. The second element that should be stated clearly in a sales contract is the price. It is considered one of the most important terms in a trade transaction. The contract defines the price of goods and services, including the price and total price, and the payment currency. Time of delivery is also very important, especially for buyers. The contract should outline clearly the date, location, and method of delivery. And finally, the contract must define the payment amount, currency, and time of payment. In the course of international payment, we are going to examine some popular international payment methods used in the market. Some popular international payment methods in the market include letter of credit. This is a bank guarantee payment to the seller if the buyer meets the terms of the LC. It is a secure method, minimizing risk for both parties. Wire transfer, or can be called money remittance, funds are electronically transferred directly from the buyer's bank to the seller's bank. Collections includes clean collections and documentary collections. The buyer's bank collects payment from the buyer upon presentation of shipping documents. It is less secure than an LC but offers flexibility and lower costs. Open account. In this payment method, the seller ships the goods and trusts the buyer to pay within the agreed terms. It's a convenient method but carries higher risk for the seller. After discussing some key issues regarding international trade contracts, the next content of the video will focus on international commercial terms, also known as Incoterms. In international trade, there are many more complex issues compared to domestic trade, such as complicated payment methods, foreign currencies used in payment, etc. While the terms of sale commonly used in international business transactions often sound similar to those used in domestic contracts, they often have different meanings in global transactions. Confusion over these terms can result in a lost sale or a financial loss on a sale. Thus, you must understand the various trade terms before you finalize a contract. Incoterms is a set of uniform rules codifying the interpretation of trade terms defining the rights, obligations, and risks of buyers and sellers in international transactions. It was developed and issued by the International Chamber of Commerce, ICC in Paris. The latest version is Incoterms Registered 2020. ICC stands for International Chamber of Commerce. It is a world business organization that enables businesses to secure peace, prosperity, and opportunity for all. ICC is the institutional representative of more than 45 million companies in over 100 countries. It is considered the largest and most diverse business organization in the world. ICC has networks of experts in all sectors such as banks, transportation, insurance, jurisdictions, etc. ICC aims to increase international trade and commerce to promote and protect an open market for goods and services and the free flow of capital. The three main activities of ICC are establishment of the rules, dispute resolution between members, and policy advocacy that benefits members in every area of business. One important thing is all rules published by ICC are not mandatory. It means they are not law. However, every member and all companies and organizations working with the ICC follow the existing rules because they tend to represent the best possible outcomes for all involved parties. Therefore, Incoterms, one of the popular publics of ICC, are not mandatory as well. They are not laws enacted by governments, but rather, it is considered as the guidelines agreed to by parties to a contract. Based on the definition of Incoterms, you should be aware that the Incoterms only focus on three fundamentals. They are the responsibilities of the buyer and the seller in delivering goods, who arranges the shipment, the cost of delivery, who pays for the transport, the risk in delivering goods, where does the ownership of goods transfer from the seller to the buyer? Incoterms can apply to both international trade and domestic trade. Before discussing the detailed features of Incoterms 2020, I will introduce the overview of Incoterms 2020. These rules are periodically updated, Incoterms 2010 being the 8th version and Incoterms 2020 being the latest. Although Incoterms 2020 is the latest edition, Incoterms 2010 is still in effect today as long as it is agreed upon by both parties of the trade. The main advantage of Incoterms is the standardized terminology used by all companies doing international business. Specific terms or acronyms provide both carriers and buyers with clear rules, helping to avoid confusion about each party's responsibilities and cost management. Even a small misunderstanding with the shipping terms, or even an incorrectly used shipping term, could lead to disputes over payment of overseas freight, insurance, or several other costs involved in the shipment of goods. Incoterms rules intend to clear the obligations, costs, and risks of involved parties during the transport process. The transport process from the warehouse of the seller to the warehouse of the buyer has many steps. Incoterms can make clear the obligations of each party in each step. Therefore, it helps avoid misunderstandings as well as disputes between parties involved. Incoterms 2020 includes 11 rules are EXW, X-Work, FCA, Free Carrier, FAS, Free Alongside Ship, FOB, Free On Board, CFR, Cost and Freight, CIF, Cost, Insurance and Freight, CPT, Carriage Paid To, CIP, Carriage and Insurance Paid To, DAP, Delivered at Place, DPU, Delivered at Place Unloaded, DDP, Delivered Duty Paid. In such 11 rules, the DPU term replaced the old DAT term in Incoterms 2010. You might wonder how to remember all 11 terms. The fact is that Incoterms is quite simple if you know the way to understand and remember. Let me show you. Firstly, when discussing the Incoterms rules, remember that you are always in the seller's perspective, or you are in the seller's point of view. Then, we will divide 11 rules into groups with similar features. There are two ways to divide them. The first one is divided based on the first capital of each rule. The second one is divided based on the modes of transport. Based on the first capital of each rule, we can divide Incoterms 2020 into 4 categories: E, F, C, and D. Category E has only one rule as EXW. Category F contains 3 rules: FOB, FAS, and FCA. Group C has 4 rules: CFR, CIF, CPT, and CIP. The last group, Group D, contains 3 rules: DAP, DPU, and DDP. Let's go to the features of each category. Category E is the feature that the goods are delivered to the buyer at the warehouse of the seller. The features of Group F is that the buyer must arrange the transport as well as the carrier to transfer the goods from the seller's country to the buyer's country. In Group C, the feature is that the seller must arrange the transport and carrier to ship the goods to the buyer's country. And in Category D, the seller's obligation is to deliver the goods to the buyer's country. The 11 Incoterms 2020 rules are also classified based on the mode of transport. We will have the rules for any mode of transport and the rules for sea and inland waterway transport only. 7 rules apply to any mode of transport are EXW, FCA, CPT, CIP, DPU, DAP, and DDP. 4 rules apply to sea and inland waterway transport modes are FAS, FOB, CFR, and CIF. I have just introduced the general information regarding Incoterms. Your assignment is to examine the details of each term in the Incoterms 2020, including the responsibilities, costs, and risks of buyers and sellers in the transportation process.